Hello you guys, welcome to another video. Now if this video gets 3 likes, I will post more videos. Well, regardless, I will be posting more in this channel. Now do not forget to like, comment and subscribe to support the channel. Now I've been going through Reddit. I have been reading through all these different threads and I thought about sharing them in this brand new channel. Now this user comments about a dead body. A few years ago, I was walking through the woods of the beaten track a bit, and I smelt this really overpowering sweet smell. Being nosy, I pulled back the undergrowth to have a look and found a dead body. That guy had clearly been there for a while and wasn't looking great, all swollen and green and black with various runny bits. The local wildlife had also been dining well for a few days. I called the police, who told me to wait with the body until they arrived. Being in the middle of nowhere, it took a while for them to arrive and it got dark and I was just sat there in the dark with him for a long time. It turned out he had committed suicide for a long time. Afterwards I had dreams about him and he would talk to me and not nice things, mainly about how he was angry I had disturbed his resting place and he wanted me to kill myself. Probably just my imagination, but all pretty disturbing at the time. He still turns up in my dreams from time to time and no doubt will be tonight after typing this. Someone commented under that, holy shit, smelled sweet. Difficult to describe, sort of like a rotting lamb. People say that a rotting body has a very distinctive smell and I can see what they mean. Ooh, this is just a creepy story, you guys. Now let me know in the comments if you have encountered a body before. It's a creepy story all over, and just reading it gave me the chills because the most I've been close to any dead body is maybe animals, perhaps like rotting rats and such, but this story just give me the creeps, you guys. I don't know, and especially the part that dead the dead person started visiting these posters, dreams and whatnot. I wonder what that's like. It's like a spirit bonding thing or whatever. Another user comments, a few summers ago I went for a bike ride around midnight with a friend. We went our separate ways at the end of the evening and I had about 2 blocks to ride back by myself. Because of construction, I had to ride on the sidewalk, but the streets were dead, but it wasn't a problem until right where I was about to turn left onto my street. There was this man walking by himself, maybe 40s, a little scruffy, but not homeless. The sidewalk was narrow and I didn't want to freak him out, so when I got about 6 feet behind him, I asked, "Hey, behind you," and he turned around and gave me this super angry look. I turned down my street and he started to follow me, literally screaming about how I was a fucking cunt and he was going to kill me and all that. I live right off the corner and I didn't want him to figure that out, so I decided to do another loop around the block. That's not the scary part. The scary part is that when I looked back around and looked down the street, I saw him standing on my fucking front stoop, staring out at the street like the motherfucker knew I lived there. He saw me ride by again, but he didn't say anything. I ended up going back to the friends, but my bike got stolen from the alleyway by the house 2 days later. Edit, the guy in question was definitely not actually homeless. We have a large population of mentally ill in that area, unfortunately, downtown of a medium-sized city. So if I didn't think the sidewalk was too narrow to pass, otherwise I wouldn't have disturbed him. Half the scary part was that he looked pretty much completely normal for my area. That being said, I ended up texting my mom and she made the decision not to notify law enforcement until my bike was stolen. Yeah, this was a weird encounter because the scariest thing I think is these mentally ill patients, and because you definitely do not know what these people will do. They can flip the script at any minute. It is like interacting with an animal. Not to be too rash or hard on mentally ill people or mentally ill persons. I feel sad for them and what their life has become, but you cannot predict what they will do next. It's very random and it's very bizarre. This one is definitely something very weird and something I'm very scared about, because imagine meeting, it's different when meeting a homeless person and a mentally ill person. Like a mentally ill person, you'll see them acting different, and a homeless person is something, they're mostly calm, but seeing someone talking to themselves and whatnot, and especially weird when they have something on their hand, like maybe a bottle or something. That drives me more insane and suspicious on them. Someone commented about a peeping Tom. I had awesome parents who let me sleep in the living room on weekend nights when I was very young, because my sister was a light sleeper and I could stay up until dawn. But of course I always end up sleeping on the couch because Nick at night made me tried. So one night I wake up to the prickly feeling like an insect just bolted into a sitting position and stared out the front window. We live in rural Georgia, so you can imagine the magnitude of trees. In perfect light cast from the moon, I see a silhouette of someone in this fucking tree. The family dog dashes to the window and is snarling into the glass. Terrified, I ran into my parents' room and tried to explain to my parents that there is a huge strange person outside. Dad grabs something defensive and darts outside with the dog to beat the wax off the hot head. I tremble in Mama's arms until Dad comes home and says he saw no one and to go to bed. I decide to sleep in my regular bedroom. I fill in my sister in as to what happened. Dad is making regular rounds in the house with a cup of coffee. We're all still and finally think I can sleep. Nope, I notice the man outside my window. From what I can see in the moonlight, he gives me a shash signal and runs away. Just turns around to run a straight line away. I swear I couldn't stop crying for what felt like an hour. Oh my god, that made me have goosebumps, you guys, because my biggest fear is having the window blinds. Like, I always close the window blinds so no one can see through the window into my bedroom, because that's been like the biggest fear of my life. Imagine at night you're suddenly woken up awake and you see someone staring at you through the window. Oh my god, that's very creepy. Someone commented, my house sits farther back in the lot than most other houses. It is a strange layout as well. The sidewalk runs the length of the living room and ends at the front porch, which lets into the living room. Large windows that do not open allow great light to get into the living room, but at the cost of no privacy. The rest of my family was on vacation, and having the house to myself, I decided I would get smashed. Well, I pass out on the couch in the living room at about 9, when I realized I was too scared to walk back to my room. The couch is right underneath these big windows. I woke up suddenly, not knowing why. I had a severe case of the chills and I could not figure out why. Then the banging sound started. It came from right above me. I did not move, but I opened my eyes and looked up at the windows. Someone was standing there, pounding on the glass. Without moving, I looked at the cable box. It was around 3 in the morning. The banging continues. Then it stops suddenly, but I still did not move. Suddenly it commences again, and coming from 2 different directions now. Someone is banging on the door and another person is banging on the front door. They kept doing it, would not go away. Finally, after about 40 minutes, they quit. It was the most terrifying event I can recall at the moment. It made me a nervous wreck after that. I called a friend the next day to see if he would come over and stay for the rest of the week, and his response was, "What the fuck for? So that we can both be murdered in our sleep? Thanks a lot, asshole." Oh my god. Uh, so imagine calling a friend for help and some assistance through such a scary event, and that's what they answer. Like, do you want us to both be murdered at once? That's crazy. What's even crazier is in the middle of the night having an intruder that's attempting to get into your house. That's crazy. I've been thinking about such a scenario. Like, for instance, I'm not I wouldn't say I'm a screamer in life, but for instance, imagine someone intrudes into your house at like 3 in the morning, 3 in the middle of the night or whatever. Like, I don't know how people can muster the courage to scream and shout at night like you're crazy and waking up the neighbors and everyone. I know it's a desperate situation, but I just hope it doesn't happen to me or any of you guys. It's a crazy situation to be in. Someone comments, I may have posted this before, but I don't remember. I was in high school doing homework at the dining room table. From there I could see the front door. Our front door at the time had a 2.5-ish pane of glass in it with a lace curtain over it. I remember hearing a noise like somebody was on the porch. It was probably 9 p.m. or so. It was very dark outside and the porch light wasn't on. As I'm watching the front door, I can see the screen door opening. It stands open for a minute or so, and there's nobody there. Oh, they were dressed all in white, all in black. I'm frozen, waiting to see what happens next. The screen door just slowly closes as if someone was there. If someone was there, they didn't just let it go. Someone was closing it carefully so that it wouldn't make noise. After that, I don't remember if I heard footsteps. Maybe they saw me watching them and decided to quietly get out of there. Oh my god. Something like this happened to me a couple months ago. I went to bed early and felt someone climb over me and flop down on the other side of the bed. Thinking it was my fiancé joining me a bit early, I grinned and lifted up my face cover to kiss him. Except it wasn't him. There was nothing. The bed was still shaking from its distinct, definitive movement. That was not me. And I felt something had just lied down next to me. Then I felt like I had never been lonelier in my life and that it fed off that. I laid there for about 30 seconds, kind of frozen with contemplating what to do next, till I jumped out of bed and joined my SO and significant other and wouldn't go back to bed till he came with me 3 hours later. Oh my god, you guys, it's currently 10 p.m. here and I'm reading these scary stories and I'm freaking myself out. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And this is crazy, especially if you have to go to bed and you're listening to this. Let me know in the comments how you're sleeping tonight. Someone comments, I once sat across from a guy who told me about killing his girlfriend, him cutting her into pieces and boiling her head. He explained why he killed her and wished he could talk to the parents so they could understand that what he did was a good thing. I sat with him for 45 minutes as he went into details. It was the most surreal 45 minutes of my life. Source: worked in max security mental health facility. Oh my god, that's a psychopath right there, you guys. That's like a Ted Bundy, a Jeffrey Dahmer situation. It's all over the place. These people don't have any what's called like sympathy or whatever that these psychopaths lack. They do something and they don't feel sadness for what they do, like remorse. It's called remorse, I think. They don't feel remorse for what they do. Oh my god. Someone comments, okay, so this happened to me last summer when I was back at my parents' house during the holidays. It was around 3 a.m. and I was in my room on my computer when I got a call from my sister. Now that was already a little bit weird, since my sister's room is just down the hallway from mine and she could have just came into my room. I went to pick up and the call ended as soon as I reached the phone. I figured that she wanted to speak with me, so I got up and went to her room. As soon as I reached her door, she started screaming that someone was in the room with her, so I busted in and of course nobody was there. After she stopped crying, she told me that she woke up and saw a dark shadow just centimeters from her face, and that's when she screamed. So I told her that she called me. She tells me that her phone is not in her room and that she was sleeping. Sure enough, her phone is actually downstairs in her purse. Oh my god. The weird part is that I have the log of her call on my phone, but she doesn't. Never managed to explain this one. Oh my god, I'm getting the creeps, you guys. Why am I reading this at 11 p.m.? I'm freaking myself out. Oh my god, oh my god. It's these freaking dark figures, you guys, dark shadows all over the place. Oh my god, oh my god. Someone comments, when I was about 7, my two brothers and I were playing in an area that was used as an official motocross place. We decided to dig a tunnel for some reason. Being the extra smart guy we were, it took a few hours to dig about 6 feet in and 2 feet high. I was right up at the face when suddenly the tunnel collapsed. It was all dirt but no support. My world went instantly black and hot. By hot, I mean furnace hot. I couldn't move a muscle from the weight of the soil, completely enclosing me. I started to really panic, as you do. Everything started turning red when I guess was blood being forced into my head. Every breath was getting harder as the soul constrained me more and more. Even though my hands were near my face, I couldn't move my arms to clear the dirt around my head, and also started breathing in dirt, which made me cough, which made me contract my stomach, and then I couldn't draw breath at all. This wasn't what made me panic though. The total darkness turning red with the incredible heat made my young mind think I was going to hell. I don't know how long I was buried for, but it seemed like an eternity. Suddenly I felt something grab one of my feet. My brothers had been frantically digging through the collapse to pull me out and managed to reach me and then pull me out. We never told my parents. I just went home and got hosed down. Oh my god, they got buried alive and pissed themselves. Oh my god, that is so claustrophobic. It's that fear of being buried alive. Oh my god, imagine the darkness, the heat, and the desperation to get out of there. Ugh. Someone comments, when we first moved into the house I grew up in, I used to hear things calling my name from the opposite end of the house. Like I would be in my room playing with Legos or something, and I would hear my dad call my name from his room. So I'll go to my parents' bedroom and ask them what they wanted, and they'll always tell me that they never called my name. Being a little kid, I honestly started to think that they were playing a joke on me, because this happened about once every couple of days. Well, one night it happened, and I went to ask them what they wanted, like always. But right as I stepped into their room, I heard my mom's voice calling for me from the living room, which is all the way on the other side of the house. It was at that exact point that I knew no one was tricking me, because I was looking at both of my parents sitting in front of me. I kinda kept this to myself until my brother was diagnosed with partial narcolepsy. One of the symptoms of narcolepsy is apparently hallucinations. So I thought maybe I had it too. Went and got myself checked, completely fine. So I had no idea what was calling my name all these years, and I still hear it at night whenever I come to visit and stay over. This happened to me and my 3 sisters at our childhood home. Our mom could yell very loud, and when she'd yell girls, we always come running. There were numerous occasions where we'll all meet up in the same room because we'll hear ourselves being called to it, only to discover our mother was elsewhere or not even home. I've also heard specific family members' footsteps walking up and down the stairs or above my head in an upstairs bedroom when I was home alone. The one incident that affected me the most was hearing my 18-year-old daughter fall from her crib with a painful thud and then run crying to my bedroom, except she was still in her crib asleep when I ran upstairs to see if she was alright. Oh my god, creepy. Imagine hearing these sounds at night. Oh my god, I'm freaking myself out. Ugh. Someone posted this elsewhere, but here it got not about their imaginary friend, and posted this elsewhere, but here it goes, not me but my sister. So growing up, my sister had an imaginary friend. She said she was an older lady and she was nice, and her name was E. She talked to her and played with her, all that jazz, until she was probably 4 or so, and then it stopped. Fast forward to when my sister was about 10, my mom isn't home, she got a call to go to the nursing home for GPA, so she bolts with Pops. My sister and I shared a room at the time, and she was in there doing whatever, and I was on the other end of the house. All of a sudden, I hear the radio in our room click on, turn all the way up, turn all the way down, and go off. This happened like 3 times, so I go in there to be all like, what the fuck, kid, knock it off. And she is sitting in our room, just white as a ghost. I go over to the radio to unplug it. No plug, no batteries, only radio in the house. I look at her and she goes, "It was E. I saw her, it was E." So I call mom, freaking out, and mom is so upset. Apparently grandpa had just passed away. Okay, weird. I drop incident, whatever. A few days later at the funeral, a relative comes up to me and gives us a pic she found. My sister goes, "Hey, it is E." It was a picture of my grandparents when they got married. My grandmother died before I was even thought of. When my mom was 11, we lived in the home my mom grew up in. We have no picture of her at all, as my step-grandmother got rid of them all when she moved into the house a few years after mom's death. Oh my god. Yeah, this one's all over the place. It's an imaginary friend, but later on they discover it's their grandma. But still, it's just creepy. And regardless, do these entities, like ghosts or whatever, can they shapeshift into someone you remember? Perhaps it was like an evil thing shapeshifting into their grandma. Oh my god, it's so creepy, and I'm creeping myself out. Someone comments about a house with bones. I lived in a bizarre little house as a kid. It was incredibly tall and thin, like an attached house except freestanding, with 3 floors, a basement, and an attic. It was full of quirks, such as 2 fully functional fireplaces, a shower stall in the center of the basement, a backyard so small that you could not take 5 paces without hitting the fence, and an old-timey rope pull dumbwaiter that led from the kitchen to my bedroom. I loved that weird little place, but unfortunately it was incredibly old, and half of its charm was the fact that it seemed to have been designed by an inarticulate conclave of lunatics, and eventually the repair costs exceeded what my parents were willing to sink into it. We had to move. Preparing for the move was a chore. I packed most of my stuff myself, and I had taken to throwing stuff down the dumbwaiter and shoving all my clothes so thickly in my closet that they became a single solid brick of fabric. While clearing the closet out, in fact, I came across a feature I hadn't noticed before: an attic entrance in the roof. Being an adventurous kid, I opened her up, stood on the closed brick, and began my first and last exploration into the topmost part of our weird little house. The first thing I noticed was that it wasn't as dark as it should have been. The place was strung with old red Christmas lights which still burned with leftover incandescence, and a dozen little cracks and holes peeped down into all the bedrooms below. The second thing I noticed was that the place was set up for habitation. The insulation was plasticed away. There was an old gurney piled with sleeping bags and sheets, and a rusted mint green refrigerator which still worked when I tested it. The third thing was the bones. There were a lot of bones. I was a kid at the time, with a little understanding of anatomy, but there were bones of all types heaped into a series of piles around the center of the attic, small and large, clean and white, from every and any imaginable sort of creature, haphazardly stacked in a single dozen osseous clumps. 2 of them were blackened, as if someone had tried to burn them, and the walls nearest those blackened piles were scrawled in dark bone char messages. Mostly they were just smears, but the word sorry appeared more than once. The room had been sitting over my head for 8 years while I slept. Oh my god, oh my god. Was that like a serial killer thing or whatever? Like, serial killers, when they're fascinated with killing animals to satiate their greed for killing and murder, it's crazy and creepy. Oh my god, can't even imagine. Someone posts about their grandma. I always seem to get to these threads when my story will surely be buried, but here goes. When I was 13, my grandmother was dying of cancer, and my mother and I stayed at her house and took care of her during her last few weeks. One night at 3 or so in the morning, my mother ran into my room and told me that my grandmother, who was by this time completely bedridden, entered my mother's room, woke her up, and then walked out of the room. There was no creepiness at the time, just a genuine concern for what my grandmother could possibly be doing up at 3 a.m. when she was literally days away from dying. We ran into her room, and sure enough, she had passed away. Obviously, given the shock of my grandmother dying, my mother and I didn't sit around chatting about how weird the whole experience was. But months or perhaps even years later, I asked her about the night, and she had no memories of telling me that my grandmother was up and walking around the house. She doesn't even remember that what woke her up or why she woke me up. Gives me shivers just writing it. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's these spirits that after leaving a body can somehow interact and cause some effects on the living world. It's creepy. Ugh. But at least it's a grandma, not some weird ghost that they found in the house. Someone posted, I think it's about a poltergeist, like a ghost who can cause some chaos in the house, moving things and whatnot. When I was 8, my family moved from urban South Florida to a really small town in North Florida. It was like from a Goosebumps book. A lot of weird stuff has happened in the 15 years since we moved there. But the weirdest has got to be when my sister moved back in with my parents. My sister's husband has been shipped off to Afghanistan, so she was left alone with a newborn son. Not wanting to go through the soul-crushing loneliness of raising a newborn all alone in a trailer in the woods, she moved back into my parents' house for a while. She said it started first when the headboard of her bed would slam every now and then. Then one day she woke up because somebody was tickling her. She didn't really think about it until one night she woke my mom up screaming. My sister is almost 30. She's not a little kid, and my mom went in and the whole fucking bed was rocking and shaking like really violently up, down, and to the side like a boat going through white water. But my mom and sister have been through a lot of shit, so they persevered. One night my sister was nursing her son and something grabbed her ponytail and started yanking her head around. My mom went in the room and very sternly, like talking to a bad kid, said, "I understand things are different. There's a little baby here, and there never has been before. You're curious. I understand that, but you'll not touch them anymore. You can look, you can stay. You were here before us, but I swear to God, you are not allowed to touch them." Oh my god. Oh my god. It sends chills down my spine, and it's creeping me out. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ugh. Someone posted this about making contact. When I was a kid, I lived in an old Victorian house, and I would always hear laughing when I was trying to sleep. I was an only child with a single mother, and when I was about 5 or 6, I would wake up hearing laughter in the hallway in the middle of the night. After mentioning this to my mom, she swore it was probably just the TV being left on late. One night, I awoke hearing the laughter in my room. I went to sit up, but felt like there was someone holding my shoulders down, invisible hands gripping into my shoulders while I heard laughing. I screamed my little heart out. My mom ran into my room, flicking on the bedside lamp, convincing me it was just a dream, until I said, "But my shoulders hurt." She lifted up my shirt, and there were 2 adult-sized handprints on my shoulders. I honestly thought I had imagined it, and that it had never happened. But the other day I mentioned it passing to my mom, and she went blanket white and said, "I don't want to remember that." Oh my god. It's beyond creepy when these entities make contact with the real, like the living world. Oh my god. This is sending creepy shivers down my spine. Anyway, you guys, that's it for today's video. You can like, comment and subscribe. You can tell me if you want more of these videos. I'm currently exploring with this channel. Now if we get to be able to stream in this channel, perhaps I will do some lives every Friday, going in deep into these different Reddit threads about, you know, creepy stories and whatnot, and we can hang out on the lives, YouTube lives. I really enjoy interacting with you guys, and I have another channel by the name of Nasmo. You can subscribe to that channel also. I do movie reviews and TV reviews, mostly horror movie reviews and whatnot, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.